Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we are unpacking a really massive sports mystery. Why is it that unstoppable Indian regional judo champions suddenly just hit a brick wall the very second they step onto the global stage? Is it a lack of talent? Or is there a fundamental flaw in the blueprint? We're going to completely dissect the exact tactical friction that turns these incredibly powerful prospects into, easy targets on the elite circuit. Okay, let's dive into this, because it's a paradox that almost sounds totally counterintuitive. What if the very techniques that make you a champion back home are the exact same ones literally holding you back on the world stage? See, when our athletes transition from the regional cadet mats to the international circuits, there's this hidden, highly technical transition point. Domestic strategy doesn't just gradually fall behind. No, it hits an absolute brick wall against international sophistication. The skills that secure domestic gold, they're actively punished at the highest levels. And the brutal reality check is basically this. In India, they're unstoppable regional champions. But on the international Grand Slam circuit, the mats tell a totally different story. So why does that dominance just completely vanish? Let's do a bit of a tactical autopsy to find out exactly why. Section 1. The Regional Dominance Paradox. To really understand the failure, we actually have to look at the success first. Domestically, our cadets succeed by relying on superior raw athleticism and these big traditional power moves. And honestly, it creates a massive false sense of security. Because on the global stage, opponents aren't just surviving those power moves, they systematically exploit them. The exact same habits that get rewarded at home are instantly seen as glaring vulnerabilities abroad. And then there's the other major factor, pacing. Local cadet circuits operate at a much slower speed, right? It gives athletes the luxury to sort of wait, react, and then counter. But the global mat, it is an absolutely unforgiving high-speed environment. If you wait to react internationally, you've already lost. It's a completely proactive game over there. Moving on to Section 2, hitting the kumikata wall. So here is the core technical obstacle. But first, what exactly is kumikata? Basically, it's the really intricate art of grip fighting in judo. Think of it like a high-speed, physical chess match that happens before a throw is even attempted. It dictates all of your positional control. If you lose this hidden initial battle, you literally cannot execute your game plan. End of story. Now, what's really interesting about this comparison is the massive gap in technique. The domestic style relies heavily on a very straightforward sleeve and lapel simplicity. It's basic. But then our cadets run headfirst into European powerhouses or the intricate styles of Japan. Their kumikata is this complex, multi-layered, completely suffocating system that just overwhelms those basic grips every single time. And it all falls apart in this incredibly brutal 5-second window. Watch how it happens. Step 1. The international opponent initiates a really complex grip. Step 2. The Indian cadet fails to execute the specific hand-fighting resets needed to break it. Step 3, positional control just vanishes, entirely lost within seconds. And Step 4, tactical paralysis sets in. The cadet basically freezes, which leads to rapid-fire penalties before they can even think about launching an attack. It's tough to watch. Section 3, tactical rigidity versus dynamic flow. Because, unfortunately, the problems don't stop at the grip. At the regional level, athletes develop this really rigid one-shot kill mentality. They're basically hunting for that single, explosive, perfect throw to just end the match. But that mentality completely shatters against international fighters. Elite opponents, they don't just stand there waiting for it. They use high-volume movement and constant feints. So, when your entire strategy relies on a single explosive throw and your opponent is constantly using misdirection, your tactical rigidity literally becomes your biggest weakness. This brings us to another really critical piece of judo terminology you need to know, ni waza. This refers to the groundwork and grappling techniques that are executed right after a throw or a takedown attempt. And looking at the data from recent Grand Slam qualifiers, this right here is a massive, systemic point of failure for our cadets. And this brilliantly illustrates the divide in high-speed decision cycles. When a standing throw, otachiwaza, fails, regional champions tend to stick to a failing plan A. They pause, they reset, and they try the exact same thing again. But international elites, they pivot mid-bout. The instant a throw fails, they flow seamlessly straight into niwaza groundwork, while their opponent is completely frozen, trying to figure out what went wrong. Section 4. The psychological high-pressure shift. Because guys, Physical and tactical errors, they're really only half the story here. I mean, imagine the shock. You're going from these quiet regional halls straight into the blinding lights and roaring crowds of the IJF World Tour. It is massive sensory overload. Stepping into that high-intensity arena immediately begins to warp a young athlete's decision-making process. This sensory overload essentially triggers a complete psychological breakdown right on the mat. First off, there's this profound fear of conceding a score, which totally replaces their normal offensive risk-taking. And that fear, it leads straight to defensive posturing. Because they're defensive and paralyzed, they rapidly accumulate shidos, or penalties. And honestly, worst of all, due to their limited exposure, they suffer an inability to read different international fighting dialects. They become totally blind to their opponent's real-time intent. Section 5. Bridging the technical abyss. So the crucial point is, we know the problem, but how do we actually fix it? Well, we need a systemic overhaul. First, we need high-cadence training camps that specifically simulate that suffocating European grip pressure. Second, regional coaching has to integrate data-driven video analysis so athletes can actually map out international movement patterns before they ever step on the mat. And finally, the whole cadet system must shift. It has to stop rewarding just raw power and start demanding genuine tactical fluidity. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Can raw talent ever truly overcome a lack of systemic strategic design? Well, looking at the data from the judo mats, the answer seems to be a resounding no. To evolve from regional champions to true international contenders, it requires way more than just athleticism. It requires a brilliant, highly adaptable blueprint. Thanks for joining me on this explainer today. Keep asking those questions and keep looking right beneath the surface of the sports you love. Catch you next time.